Jason Terry, good defense. Wade from behind takes it away. Chalmers, pull, James! Whoa!
Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody, because you know how life is. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Run the Break podcast with myself, the wise brother, and in basketball circles, people know me as Big Baby.
Big Baby.
And to my right, welcoming him into the Your Sports Network family. He is the host of Backstage Brawl.
Yes, sir.
He is Shot Biz Ronnie.
Yes, sir.
He is the people's champion.
Yes, sir.
He is Randy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, man, we getting this started, man. That was a dope intro, man. I respect that, man. Heavy. Good shit.
Yes. So again, as you know, those watching for the first time, this is the first episode of the Run the Break podcast on the Your Sports Show Network. For those who don't know, who are not familiar with Randy, as I said, he is the host of the Backstage Brawl, who our co-host on the Your Sports Show, Matt, is a part of. It's like a talent exchange we've been saying this whole time.
We the GMs around here.
Right, we the GMs over here. And then, I said, okay, I'll take E for the
baseball.
The Dog Days of Baseball podcast hosted by Pete Rosado. Shouts to the rest of the Your Sports Show Network. As I said, Pete Rosado, BK Matt, the Queen Tay, Grizz, and now welcoming Randy, the people's champion. So, listen, how you feel? How you feel? Because I know we've spoken about this before. We mentioned it.
It's a long time coming because obviously we've had shop. We did the shop obviously on Facebook through the Talking Champions page, and it's just like I just figured, we got we kind of aligned the same thoughts in terms of ball and hoop. So as much as we have the barbershop conversations, but when it comes to the bare bones of actually talking about hoop without the barbershop aspect coming into it,
absolutely.
I think we align in that, and for this to come to fruition, and when the idea came and stuff like that, my mind already started gearing in terms of what to talk about, and because talking about hoop is fun. Like as much as I love talking about wrestling is great, but ain't nothing like talking about hoop. Like just talking about the bare bones of basketball, how the game is, everything, like what it means, what it really means watching basketball. So, I'm glad that we were able to get this up and going with the ideas that are flowing and what the narratives of today are. This is just a great avenue and opportunity just to obviously just keep this going and just get this started. So I'm just happy to be here, be part of the Your Sports family and everything. And we family anyway. So for us to do this, it's very important. I'm just happy to get started.
Absolutely. And I believe we both come from actual basketball podcasts from before. I know you were doing you did one once upon a time.
We did the Homers podcast.
Yep. Good
times, and hopefully I could entice my boy Rob to come from time to time because he does have some.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And myself and Matt started out podcasting before we started the Your Sports Show. Our podcast was the Four Quarters podcast with myself, Matt, and two other individuals. Again, good times, a lot of lessons, real smart basketball minds. But I felt like, all right, well, been doing the Your Sports Show for 5 years. Basketball is my true love. We're both in wrestling and on both sides. I'm in it. And also, on the media side, you're on the media side. And it's like basketball is our first love. So why not
combine it, combine it together.
Combine it together, two like-minded individuals. Yeah. Like I said, we're not always going to agree, but we get to show our basketball minds, and it's not one of those things where we're only following the season. This podcast is going to take you everywhere. we may be talking about Bill Russell one day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be talking about Ja Morant the next.
Or talk about winning time and how the fact that like we
time,
need a couple more seasons on back.
Yeah,
Boy,
we need to
bring it back.
the second season, the end of the second season. Yeah, just delete the end credit on the last episode of the second season.
The Celtics winning.
And then just go on the third season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants the Celtics to win, obviously, as you can see by our intro.
Hell
but we'll get into that too, because like I said, of course, Matt will call us bronze sexuals, but we also appreciate the greatness of his airness, Michael Jordan as well, of Kobe Bryant as well. Everybody in between, and people who you don't think, a lot of people probably won't mention that's should be on the list, that could have been on the list. It's so many different possibilities when we eventually get to that GOAT conversation. So
there's a lot of great hoopers that sometimes don't get talked about enough. And I think we can touch about all that. And I think that's what the show is basically going to be primarily about. It's not just about, talking about today and talk about what just happened. Like Dre said, like we'll probably talk about rivalries and how it means something to basketball. We can talk about how international play, a lot of ways resembles the kind of basketball that fans want to see. But, domestically, we're analytic based. So it's 3 is more than 2. So that's pretty much how the NBA is today. So that's kind of like what we're relegated to. Those are the conversations we'll be having more or less, when we get a chance to kind of like, get more episodes in. But today is just, it's the pilot, just getting the groove in. And
today's the intro. We just, give y'all a little bit.
Just give y'all a little bit.
Give y'all a little bit.
Yeah.
But with that being said,
yes, sir.
One of the first questions that was presented, and it's something that I've thought about for a while too, but I've never put pen to paper to really ask this question out loud.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, what has Adam Silver done better in his time as commissioner than David Stern? And it's a 2-part question. Do you think Adam Silver is a better commissioner than David Stern?
I think in terms of the latter question, I will say that Adam Silver is more lenient than David Stern. Because back in the day, like even if you did the smallest thing, Stern would either suspend you or blackball you from the league. I'm not saying Adam Silver hasn't done it, because he has his fair share of people he's blackballed in the league. But
absolutely,
David Stern, the way he led the league was with an iron fist, because his main goal was to basically globalize the game, and that's what he did. Obviously when he took over in '84 from Larry O'Brien, he basically globalized the game. His first project was Magic and Bird, promoting the Celtics and the Lakers rivalry. And then when Michael got drafted, and then when Michael became who he became, he was basically the golden goose. And then the Dream Team came, and then Kobe and Shaq came, the 2003 draft. And then, up until a point where you knew where Adam Silver was able to pick up the baton and then progress it further. Like in Adam Silver's NBA, you don't have an owner that is completely racist against your team like a Donald Sterling. He's the first one to basically kick him out, because David Stern wasn't going to do that. Like Adam Silver, his first major thing was to take out a very horrible boss who said very degenerative things
horrible
about
person in
very
general.
Horrible person. So for him to do that, was very crucial. His first major stamp on the league. Obviously, there's things that he has some lowlights in terms of his tenure, but there's more good than bad in terms of Adam Silver. The play-in tournament, people kind of scoffed at it, but look what it's done for the league. It's curbed tanking. You see the in-season tournament, people said, well, the season doesn't mean much, but you have the first month and a half of the regular season, it feels like playoff games. So it's like by the time you get to the in-season, the Emirates Cup, which it is now,
NBA Cup, Emirates Cup, whatever,
teams have an opportunity to kind of feel the idea of like, oh, like, what would it feel like if I actually won the actual championship? This is a small step into the regular season. And I think that in a lot of ways, it's kind of mirroring other leagues in terms of like, they have certain, league championships that they have within the season before they have the postseason, or even college basketball where they have all these, invitationals where you win at the end, there's a prize or a championship trophy at the end of it. it's very important for the NBA to continue emerging and reevaluate themselves from time to time because it could get stagnant. And I think
Yep.
people may think that it's coincided with the ratings, but I think that's something we're going to get to later. But you know, I do feel like it's helped with the league and progressing further. But when you talk about David Stern, he led the league with an iron fist, man. Like there were things that you wish he would have done more that ultimately Adam Silver was able to do back then. If you even got caught smoking weed, it's either a fine or you're suspended.
You're out.
You're
Damn
out.
near.
You're out. Like nowadays, it's like under Adam Silver, it's like yeah, like especially happens right after the pandemic where Kevin Durant openly said like yeah, I smoke cannabis.
For sure.
Steve Kerr to help his back had to smoke cannabis in order to basically manage the pain that he was dealing with, and how cannabis has helped him. Sure, people have the connotation of cannabis being people smoke weed just because whatever, but cannabis has actually helped. And Stern kind of came, to it, but he was already past, being a commissioner when he kind of came around to it. And Adam Silver, he gets on that progressive end, but he's also had a lot of low lights, just as much as David Stern as well. But they both lead differently, and they have both left their marks onto the game, in different ways. And I think obviously it's room for Silver to continue to grow because he's 10 years in already. So, it's going to take a lot because David Stern had the NBA for approximately 30 years. Just about 30 years, right? So Adam Silver is in year 10. So like it's kind of unfair to kind of basically like say that, oh, he's worse than Stern, this and the third, when he's already done a lot of great things to advance the league. But at the same time, you got to give him room to grow in aspects where the league is not necessarily strong at least not yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. In terms of what he's done a bit better, I'm gonna start with something real small. So I guess a lot of people will be small, but to the players, it's not. Adam Silver is more of a players commissioner.
Yeah.
Even see, I had a moment just now. Even though Stern players can go to David Stern. A lot of players said they could go to David Stern, and he did have his favorites, of course. I'm sure Adam Silver has his, but it's not as out loud and outlandish as probably David it was for David Stern. Now, with you being a players commissioner, you listen to the players a lot more, and the players are a lot happier. Sometimes. Now, these players are prima donnas. Some of them find reasons to complain. But I think Adam Silver has done a great job kind of keeping it level to where the players are not ready to start a mutiny over every little thing. Yeah, they didn't like the mid-season tournament at first, right?
But
they didn't like the NBA Cup.
They love it now because of how what it does competitive wise.
Right. And as we said, we'll get into the ratings and why such and such was what it was this year for the NBA Cup and the NBA in general.
Yeah.
But Adam Silver ultimately has increased ratings. This is a down year. Last year was somewhat of a down year. But what Adam Silver has done that David Stern hasn't is make sure the assets are making more money. Assets in the W. The W. Now, people could say, yeah, nobody watches the W. The W has had its highest viewership in the last 2 years than the last 20-something years that they've been around. Last year, this is prior to, the last couple of years, let's be for real, because it's grown. Prior to Kobe's passing, the eyes on the league have definitely grown, right? And I attribute that to Adam Silver basically pushing the NBA players like, hey, push the league. You saw a bunch of NBA players with the orange W sweaters and shirts, which I need one of those too.
Kyrie was doing it a lot. Kobe,
Kyrie Irving was doing a lot. Yeah. So Adam Silver is pushing the league, and then international play. Right, we have so many international players being drafted now. When at a point where there was damn near, you can count on one hand how many international players were drafted in 10 years.
It's an international game.
Right now, it's an international game.
Yeah.
People don't like that though either, and we'll get into that on later episodes as well. As far as who's better, it's hard to say who's better. That is honestly up to the players. I do think, as you said, Stern ruled with an iron fist, but he had to.
Yeah.
Because when he inherited the NBA,
it was wild.
It was wild. Drugs, all type of everything stuff going on.
Yeah,
people were doing coke in the locker room, like
it was
y'all coming to play ball or anything. Like, but he grew the game. He grew the game. He focused on stars because stars make people want to watch. He focused on rivalries, not just Magic Bird. Let's talk about Knicks Pacers, right?
Talk about it.
Let's talk about Heat Knicks, right?
Rocket Suns of the 90s.
Rocket Suns. Lakers Kings.
Lakers Jazz. That 2 year
Jazz. Jazz Bulls.
Now
Bulls Cavs.
The Rockets and the Sonics had a little bit of a rivalry too back in the day as well. So there was a lot of good rivalries. So like you focus on, it's kind of like wrestling. It's like you focus on stars that could drive the overall product. Exactly. And that's what David Stern did better than anybody else during that time. I think now, I would say the best compliment I can have for Adam Silver now is the fact that he reminds me, he blurs the lines between Larry O'Brien of the 70s, which had parity, and David Stern in terms of how to globalize the game and market the game a certain way. And he's taken both aspects of what made both the leagues great between the time of the 70s and the 80s and beyond when Stern was leading it, and basically combining those kind of ideals together in a more modernized sense. Because obviously you have to grow within the times. And I think Adam Silver's kind of like stood back and like looked enough to see how the league is growing and basically adapted to it. Because now, like, obviously you're going to talk about the league viewership. A lot of that is accrued in terms of how the game is being consumed nowadays.
Right. So everything is on apps now.
Yeah.
Everything is on apps now. Now, the problem with that, everything being on apps, is the fact that these apps are charging an arm and a leg, and not everybody is making a living wage to where they can pay $10 a month. They can pay $100-something a year for NBA app. You're not going to feel like paying for Peacock every month. It's like
it's like you're trying to put away cable. You're trying to put away cable, but you're adding more channels. So it's like might as well just stick to cable at this point.
Right.
So it's just like it's a catch-22 with that.
Yeah, but I think Adam Silver is definitely he's doing a great job, right? Yeah. And we're going to talk about the All-Star game at a fairly soon.
Yeah, it's coming.
Because people are somewhat a little confused about it, but to me, it's not really confusing. It's
not.
You pick out of the 23 teams, pick out of the 24. The Rising Stars have been doing their little tournament game the last couple of years, and people have not been paying attention to it. But that's fine. That brings more eyes to the Rising Stars game.
Because which team wins that gets a chance to go to the main dance that following Sunday. So it means a lot.
Right. So imagine now you have Wemby, you have Edie, you have a bunch of these guys, right? These young guys going against the old pros in a one-day tournament. And to be honest, this system, the way the All-Star thing works now,
it might get them to actually care.
it caters more to the young guys.
Oh yeah,
because we've played ball before.
Yeah,
we could go 3 games in one day. We could and play crazy 3 games in one day. So now the NBA players who now have to wait for their games. Meanwhile, those young guys are already warmed up and ready because they played 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, and we'll deep dive into that into another episode. But we're going to move on to today's topic. You have something else on
No.
it?
No, I'm good.
But we talked about league viewership in a way. We kind of touched on it, but and I think we kind of explained it. I think it's how people
Consume the
see the
game.
game, consume the game now. It's not just, okay, well, turn on channel 4, turn on channel, channel 7, turn on channel 2, turn on whatever. It's not just that. It's not just turn on ESPN. Now I can watch a game on the ESPN app. I can watch it on NBA TV when they go in and out. I can watch it on League Pass on my phone. I can watch it again on Peacock. I can watch it on Max. I can watch a game anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I can also pirate the game, which is
outside the hot box way.
Yeah.
It's a lot in terms of the league today. The way it's being consumed, like you said, like because this is more of a streaming era. Because let's face it, it's a society with a short attention span, and I kind of like accrue to it in terms of wrestling because they talk about a certain company that that doesn't have like a lot of great ratings per week, and it's like, well, they're trying to make this big thing about ratings, but what gets them the popularity is the clicks online and what people are saying. So that's what drives the narrative of most of the time. So whatever you're seeing on social media and YouTube, the clips, like when you watch a game, as soon as the game is over, there's a 10-minute clip. There's a 10-minute clip of the entire game in fragments.
Right there.
Right there. So you don't need to watch the game for 2 hours and 30 minutes. So you can just wait for the game to finish and then watch to see what happens and end the result. And plus, if you have the, certain apps that give you the ready time reports in terms of who won, there's that. So it's like the way people consume the game is no longer traditional where you can just sit in front of a TV for 2.5 hours and actually watch basketball. Like for me, for me, obviously, like I'm, like you and me, like we will watch the game.
Yeah.
Like if it's on TNT, I'm gonna watch it. If I know the Knicks are on, I'm gonna watch it on MSG. I'm gonna be loyal enough to watch it on the channels that I know how to watch because that's how I came up. The younger kids that are coming up now in this culture today, like they're used to watching it on YouTube. They're used to watching on certain apps. So where they don't really need to watch, have the attention span to watch a 2-hour game, unless you're there in their minds, it's like, oh, I'll just watch a 10-minute clip when it's over. Like I'll just come back in and out because because the attention span is so small, and it's the same thing in wrestling too, where it's like, oh, why is it not like the same ratings back in the day where it's like it's these average 4 or 5 million a year? It's like a week. It's not the same.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
Can't do that.
Times are different.
There's so many other things to watch on TV, right? There's so many other things in general to do. When I'm not even mentioning people just being outside doing whatever they're doing outside. It's attributed to everything. It's attributed to everything. But social media is an important factor. But the double edge of that sword is that social media has also helped grow the game. Because that's how you bring in new fans. That's also how you create new stars. These people running these social media accounts are taking clips of these kids, taking whatever the new people are saying, take whatever the old people are saying, and putting them up.
Yeah.
But there's also so many different streams of basketball content, podcasts, debates, like it's so many different forms. So many outlets for people to be like, okay, basketball. It's not like what it used to be where you needed to watch the game and the only other way you were going to see highlights of the game was on SportsCenter. Right? For us in New York, the only other way we were going to see highlights of the game, if it wasn't on SportsCenter, we watched the end of the game, we watched clips on MSG or our local news.
Yeah. That's how it used to be. Still is,
ESPN,
but
it still is. But ESPN grew the game to now we can watch. There was 10 games in the NBA slate. We're going to look at clips for each one of them. 1 30-second clip for each one. And I'm going to tell you how it did.
Yeah.
Right? So I think Tay said this on the show as well. I think when LeBron, Steph, and KD leave,
It's gonna
who
be
is
hard.
placed? It's gonna be hard. Who is at that pedestal to be the face? Who is at the pedestal to be the star? That guy. Some people are saying Wemby, and I can see it.
I think based off what I've seen, because
Mhm.
obviously, like recently, I think it was yesterday. He was like he
Yeah.
was still in New York, obviously
Yeah, playing chess.
Things like that, and it immediately clicked in my head. Who's the only person you could think of would do something like that? Who's that tall, that gifted, who could be a perennial star, who could do something like that so casually? Well, there's two people I could think come to mind: Kareem
Mm-hmm.
and Wilt.
Yep.
And it's like when I look at Wemby, he's like, it's a godsend because it's like he's exactly what you would get if you combine Wilt and Kareem. That kind of personality and that kind of personability. Like, and the fact that he did it in New York and he was so comfortable doing it in Manhattan.
In the rain.
But you can tell he's done that before because he spent time in France. So I'm like, if he would ever to basically, for whatever reason, to leave San Antonio, I know what city he'd be comfortable playing in. I'm not saying he's coming to the Knicks, but I'm saying if he were to come to the Nets, like, you know, to have that New York familiarity, I think he would basically fit well here because what he's been able to bring is like a little bit of what the old guys used to bring to the league, and that's a breath of fresh air. He's definitely one of those guys, you know. And another person I think is Anthony Edwards, who from a star standpoint, he can be jaw dropping enough to be charismatic and that kind of personality. It's just the league has to do a much better job of basically promoting those guys as much as you would promote a LeBron, KD, and Steph, despite the fact that they're getting older.
It's yes, you're right. It's a presentation thing, right? But also, do these kids want to be presented as stars through the NBA, like through getting the NBA push, or do they want to be social media famous?
You talking about the players, or you talking about the fans themselves?
I'm talking about the players. I'm not talking about the fans. The players. I'm talking about the players. The fans, you know, indulge the game. They take the game in differently. They'll decide who their stars are. But the NBA, the current NBA players, and it kind of started with KD in a way, where KD didn't want to be a star, but he also wanted to be acknowledged.
Can't have it both ways. That was his Achilles heel, you know, no pun intended, but that was the problem with KD. You know, where it's like you don't want the attention, but you're great. You have to get that attention. If you want to be mentioned with one of those guys, you have to accept, you know, the responsibility. And
I just want to play ball. Kyrie is the same way, but Kyrie's also accepted that. That's a different.
No, see, the thing about Kyrie's a funny case because Kyrie wanted it at one point, and then when he realized he couldn't get it or it wasn't to the way he expected it, Kyrie kind of was like, you know what, you know, I'm just gonna stick to the basics and just do what I need to do. Because like Kyrie was a catch-22 because you can tell he wanted it badly in terms of the style of play and everything else, especially when he was in Cleveland and Boston. But I think after that Brooklyn tenure, he kind of had to reevaluate like the who he really is and what his contribution to the game should be. And I think it's been better for him since he's been in Dallas. But I wouldn't say Kyrie was all about ball necessarily, but you can tell he was a personality because of his play. You know, and I think that the lines kind of got blurred at points in time where sometimes it was self-inflicted in terms of what he wanted to project with his NBA image. But once he kind of simplified what he wanted to be and just basically just keep it at that and pick that side and stuck with it, I think it's been better for Kyrie. You know, and it fits him at this stage of his career compared to where he was much younger and you know, I won't say cantankerous, but it was basically when he was trying to discover himself as a star within the league.
I think in Brooklyn, though, he was trying to keep it solely basketball, and then it turned into a whirlwind. He wanted to speak out against things that, you know, he felt strongly about, and nobody should be told to shut up and dribble. You speak your mind, and you as an athlete, you're still a human being. You have a right to say the things that you want to say. You also have the right you also have to be receptive to the things that's going to be said back. And some people aren't. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not saying he is. He isn't. I'm just saying that these are the things that happen, right? But to go back to the original topic, I think Anthony Edwards, if pushed properly, he is in position to kind of be Charles Barkley-ish.
Like, he's
in the greatest of ways.
Yeah,
he's related. He's relatable. Anthony Edwards is super relatable, right? Like how much more? Like Ja Morant before he started like doing everything he was doing. Ja Morant is relatable.
He still got time. Like people say like it's over for him. He got time. He's still young.
It's not over, right?
It ain't over.
Jaylen Brown, right? Jaylen Brown. He's not being pushed to be a star. He's basically Batman. But he's not being pushed to be a star because of him being outspoken, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the outspoken. He's been labeled as the angry black man, right? Don't want that. But he's not backing down from his beliefs. But the league is not pushing him not going to push him as a star because he's going to call them out on their bullshit. Right? Jason Tatum, poster boy. That's what they want. They want that poster. They want the clean cut. They want to push another Steph Curry. Giannis had his time in the sun for a little bit, right? So it's a bunch, and then the kids that's coming in. You remember the kids that are coming in are NBA kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Cayenne, Bronny's in the G League. You have Kmart's son who is currently in the league. You have the Boozer twins that's on their way.
Gilbert's son is on the way.
Gilbert's son is on the way. Scotty's son is in the league. You have NBA kids that were part of, their father's legacy. Now, will those kids be ready more for the spotlight because they were already there? But that'll be part of. I think that'll be part of. Are they able to create stars out of what they have now, or are they going to go based off familiar name value? And does that determine the viewership, right? Because when you hear LeBron James Jr., oh, Bronny's playing? Let me see, right? Let me see. And some people see just to see how bad he's going to play. Some people are fans of it.
People tune in for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what hooks.
Bryce comes in. Bryce James.
I mean, Bryce won't have that issue though.
Bryce won't have that. Bryce won't have that issue. Just like LaMelo didn't have the issue that Lonzo had. Yeah,
that's true. I'll tell you one thing. Like Cayenne is definitely not going to have that issue when he gets to the league.
Bro, the way people love Carmelo Anthony, bro, man.
I mean, now, because back then when he was in Denver, before people liked him when he was on the Knicks. It's like, all right, but once he retired, it's like, oh, he's where's this been this spelled the entire time? It's like, nah, y'all wasn't messing with it when it was in front of y'all.
Yeah, bro, y'all wasn't trying to listen. Y'all thought he was tripping. Yeah. Hence why I stopped because I left the Knicks, bro. That's why I left the Knicks. Left them alone. Because y'all not gonna disrespect the person y'all traded everybody for.
Come on now.
We'll talk about the Knicks too one of these days, and I definitely that timeline, the Melo timeline, because that's a very interesting time in basketball because there were so many things going on there. Not just Melo and the Knicks, but
Miami,
the Heatles, the big three in Boston. The Lakers are still doing their thing. The Clippers. It was so many things. The building of the dynasty in Golden State. It was a lot going on. But that's also going to be a dope topic to touch on.
Yes,
mm-hmm. Now, the current style of play. What do you think of how the game is played now?
It's twofold for me because when I look at the current style of play today, I do like the fact that the game is open.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that teams are utilizing the 3-pointers. The only thing is I don't like the volume of the shots because what made the game so fun to watch was the different styles in terms of how guys could score. Like when you watched the Lakers back in the day, you loved how they could use a triangle. When you saw Mike D'Antoni's teams, the 7 seconds or less, as soon as make or miss, get the ball, run, get to a spot, pick and roll, take an open shot. If it's a 3 layup or whatever.
Yep.
You look at other players in the league, and it's just like you look at other players and Gilbert when he was in Washington with the Princeton offense and how they used to run that so you can get open. As my dog is barking.
Hey, listen. You'll notice on the Your Sports Show network, on all our shows, we have a bunch of co-stars, whether it's kids, dogs, parents. It's everybody is part of the network. So
yeah. So there was styles back in the day. You know how Pat Riley was using Jack McKinney's offense all those years with Showtime. And how the Celtics, people say, well, teams are more, or players are more skilled today. The best skill most players know how to do today is more so to basically find different ways to shoot a 3-point shot. Yeah. Ever rarely you see guys that, find ways to get to the cup, easy ways to get to the cup. That's what basketball's about. How easy can it get for you to get to the cup? Because the further away you get from the cup, thinking no matter how analytical it could get, it takes away from the other elements of basketball, like the post up or the mid-range shot when you need it. Because as good as the 3-point shot is, it's not going to be hit all the time in a way, at a high clip. On average,
it's not.
The league is you're averaging sub 40% from the league, from the 3-point line on average for the league. And it's like you have this barren space in between the 3-point line where you can score to get to the basket. You got to use pick and rolls. You got to use different angles and run different elements. A lot of teams today run the same type of sets, like especially the first iteration of the set. So when you I can even see it now. Bring the ball up the court. You have someone come up with a curl. There's a pick and roll. You're waiting for somebody to either cut or screen or shoot back to the 3. And then now you see more drop coverages in the NBA now, where you see when you get a pick or a high screen and roll, either the big is going to the basket or he's going to flare and basically go back for a 3. And then someone who's dropping, expecting someone to cut to the basket, you're like, damn, he's about to shoot a 3 and then make it. It's like, or make or miss. It's infuriating to watch sometimes because you just kind of wish where it's just like, yo, man, I just wish you could just all right, cool. I got a mismatch, dump it in. I can either turn around both shoulders and shoot, or I could find my way to pivot and get to the basket. Find different ways to be an ethical scorer. There's no ethical scoring in basketball. It's just solely primarily on the 3. And it's not a bad thing, but but you do want variety in basketball.
That shit terrible.
You want variety in hoops.
That shit terrible. That shit terrible. That shit is terrible. Analytics ruined basketball, but it also gave people a different way on how to play basketball. So how analytics works, what people should know is that these people know that a 40% 3-ball from the corner has a higher percentage make rate than a mid-range shot within the 20-something feet.
Yeah.
Right? The dunk has a 100% make rate because you're in front of the hoop. The free throw is the third highest, percentage shot because there's no defense in front of you. And then it's, again, the mid-range. People don't go to the mid-range anymore because they feel like, oh, well, why am I going to shoot with a defender in my face?
I think they also oversimplified the way the game is played because of the 3-point shot. And I think it sucks because it's like when I see teams like OKC, Orlando, New York, Miami to an extent as well, Philly when they're healthy, it's great to see teams like that utilize other aspects of the game, where it's from the mid-range, even Phoenix too, to an extent as well.
Yeah. Because they have Kevin Durant, who is a mid-range god.
He's a midi god. So it's just I love how like those teams kind of work because of the fact that they utilize all parts of the floor. The best players in the league are 3-level scorers. When they say three
Mhm.
level scorers, they're not talking about he can just shoot the three 7-8 times a game and hoping for a 35% clip. This,
Right.
we're talking about guys who can get to the cup, who can average at least from the mid range about 57% from the mid range, and then get about average about 40, close to sub 40 around for three. Let's just say, let's be generous, 38-39% on average from three. And then from the line, at best, you're probably in the low 80s, in terms of free
Low
throw,
80s, or late 70s.
late 70s, early 80s in terms of free throw shooting. You got to find ways to score. And it's like, Kevin Garnett also talked about this as well, like recently on KG Certified, where he was just like, "Yo, like, it's like, yo, bro, like MJ used to give the sauces, like, yo, man, you got to find ways to score. It's like, I'm gonna score 7 points here. I'm gonna get
Yep.
to the line, I'm gonna get to the line 4 or 5 times. You make my free throws, at this clip. Shoot a couple threes here and there. By the end of the night, if I have like between 28, 30 points, I'm like, cool, like that's my night. Most players
Yeah.
primarily look for 3-point shots. Like yesterday, I was watching Knicks and Wizards, and one of the Champagne twins went off. Most of them shots came from the three. Like, good, you had a great night shooting like 10 or 15 from the field, and you had, and most of them were threes, and you were lucky to get those off. But it's not always going to be like that the following night, because if your three ball is not falling, what else
No.
you going to do? It's like guys don't know how to. I think another thing is they took away the ability to create off the dribble to get to different spots on the floor for certain players now, because you're only teaching guys a couple things. You're teaching guys different angles in terms of how to get a three ball off rather than just going to the basket or finding ways to different angles on the floor to get an easier shot if it's not a 3-point shot. And I
To
think,
add to that, real quick, they also took away specialists, because
yeah,
when the league was the league,
mm,
the 3-point shot was there, but you needed Kyle Korvers, you needed the Michael Reds, the Ray Allens towards the end of his career, the Danny Greens, right? You needed those, the Kevin Martins, right? Even though Kevin Martin was an all-around scorer, some people towards the end of his time will also consider him 3-point specialist, right? Jason Capono, Steve Novak,
ooh,
those
you
guys.
saying the good names.
Yeah, the snipers, right? Like the snipers, Glenn Rice, like people like that.
He was a good one.
3-point specialists, to where they knew that their job was to shoot threes. And when we're talking about what we're talking about now, we're not talking about people like that. We're talking about people who just, you're taught from an early age. Now, learn how to shoot the three. Get strong enough to shoot the three. And people, that's not how I shoot, but that's imitating how a child shoots.
Yeah.
A child will shoot from, this is how they will shoot from three.
Yeah.
At 5 years old. Like, all right, well, Steph.
Not everybody's, and that's the thing too, because it's like it shifted. Because back in the, like, at least during when we were coming up, everybody we're still around that cusp where like it was Mike transitioned to Kobe, Bron, KD, and then when Steph came in, it completely changed the game. Where it's just like, okay, if I'm not athletic, I could just focus on my 3-point shot and then just focus on my handles and just get it off. And it's like I don't got to work as hard to basically be an Allen Iverson getting to the cup, or a Marbury who can basically do the dishing, but at the same time get to the cup, find ways to do the mid range, could shoot the three because he had the strength especially from the upper body strength to basically get it off.
Baron Davis is
Baron Davis is another one. Like, he was filthy. Like, those
that man don't get enough credit. That man don't get enough credit.
He don't get enough credit. So those are guys that like found different ways to affect the game on an offensive end. Whereas like today, you look at certain players, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna get to the 3-point shot. Like, I'm gonna get a high screen, and if the guy drops, I'm gonna shoot it. And if like he's up, I gotta pass it and find somebody else to shoot the three and then circle it around. It's the same kind of basketball. And it's like there's no originality in the game when it comes to that. And I think it also hurts the league in that way, because it's like you kind of miss where, like, all right, if you're gonna run the triangle for this set, you're going to run the triangle set for somebody, or you're going to try to run a Princeton set, or you're trying to simplify it by basically doing a pick and roll heavy offense if you're an isolation team. Like you don't, or down pins like the Detroit Pistons used to do with Rip Hamilton. Like gone are those days of you. They don't do that no more.
I'll tell you why. They don't practice.
They don't practice.
Teams don't practice.
I mean, unless you're Tibbs or Eric Spoelstra.
Right. Unless you're New York or Miami.
I go practice.
And even then, it's not to the level of practice to where it used to be. It's not always, taped up practice.
And that's on the players too.
Yeah, and that's on the players too.
Yeah, that's on the players.
You know what? That goes back to the Adam Silver, wasn't a David Stern conversation.
Yeah.
These players, we get ran too hard. Okay. I'm pretty sure somebody said something, and that it now it's an overall thing. Now we have what's it called? It's escaping me right now. Just players just sitting.
Load management.
Load management, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Pause for Matt. Right. But you have players doing, load management now, healthy, right? And let's not, downplay where it came from.
It's Pop.
It came from Pop, but Pop wasn't doing it the first 2 weeks of the season.
Nah. And the crazy part about it is Pop did it because he knew like Ginobili and Duncan, especially at that time, were getting older. So it's like, all right, Duncan, you're getting older. So it's like, I'm going to probably preserve you best and keep you a couple nights out of the week. And then once teams realize, they're doing load management, I'm going to do that too. And then they just took it and ran with it because they think like all they do is practice and this, that, and the third. I'm like, I don't think that's the case. Like, for whatever reason, especially during that time, like whomever was the reason why practices are shorter now, like it doesn't do coaching and it doesn't do the league a service, because if you're trying to get the highest quality of basketball possible, like stripping that part of the game is teaching. Like you can't take away teaching from the game because you think it's analytically efficient if they practice less. Because if you think their bodies can recover faster. Like it does these guys a disservice, and the fact that you don't create opportunities for these guys to practice enough, to learn actual stuff, because that's why every team runs the same things now. Like there's no difference. Like I used to love when like Jeff Van Gundy used to basically pregame for facing Pat Riley. Like Pat Riley used to run his guys crazy. You talk about Tibbs playing all these guys all these minutes. He's doing his job. His job is to basically put your players out there enough to win a basketball game. His job is not to coddle these NBA talents.
No, absolutely. I just think Tibbs.
I go for he does well.
He needs to play more than 6 people if he's going to do that.
He does well a bit, but to his credit,
I understand where that's coming from.
Yeah,
I understand where that's coming from.
Yeah,
I'd also think, that's an old school way of thinking. But yes, I do miss the times where every team played distinctively different. I knew if I was watching the Memphis Grizzlies with Mark, the Grindhouse. I know I was watching them. I knew what I was getting. I knew if I was watching the Utah Jazz with Rudy and Donovan and Mike, I knew what I was getting. That was one of my favorite teams.
You know what you was getting.
You know what you were getting. Even back further, the classic Jazz teams, I knew what I was getting. I knew that pick and roll was coming, and I knew if that pick and roll got jammed up, y'all couldn't stop it. But if magically you stopped it, Jeff Hornacek is real close.
Right open in the corner.
Right open. And if it's not Jeff Hornacek, Greg Ostertag is somewhere down in the paint waiting for lurking, right? And if it's not him, Carr is right there at the mid-range, or Malone is in the mid-range to get their shot off, right? And Russell might be someplace trying to in the corner or running and trying to shoot, right? We knew what the Bulls triangle offense is. We know what the Lakers triangle offense is. We know what that was. We knew what the New York Knicks were trying to do all throughout the 90s into the early 2000s, even with Spree in Houston and a banged up but
Ewing,
somewhat efficient Ewing,
yeah.
with a banged up but somewhat efficient Larry
Yeah,
Johnson, right? We knew exactly what these teams were doing, and you had a game plan for it.
It's fundamental. Guys were fundamentally sound. It's the fundamentals too. That's another thing. It's like, and that's what. And the crazy part about it was like when you watch the Olympics this year, right? And you saw like, despite us winning the gold medal, you saw how they struggled, right? Because of how
we sure wasn't supposed to win, bro. But
like
we won.
Like honestly, like to be frank, like we weren't supposed to win that Olympics. Even with the Avengers going over there to Paris, the way other teams were playing how it was back then, I saw cuts. I saw different aspects of like offenses being run. I saw actual plays.
You saw why Bogey was going crazy. You see why Bogey was going crazy?
Bogey was going nut. Like, bro, like he was like, yo, bro, they were running zipper, like things I haven't seen in a long time. Like difference, like I saw Larry Brown sets when he was the Pistons, like when he was with the Pistons in terms of curls for Rip Hamilton. Those plays,
elevator screens, floppy, all of that. They were running all of that.
When was the last time you saw a good floppy in the league, bro?
Right.
Like, you don't see that.
Right. You see Golden State do a form of it.
They do.
But it's not what it was, but that's also due to personnel, right? You have 4-3 on certain nights. Well, 3-4 on certain nights when Draymond decides he wants to shoot. But 3 or 4 out of your 5 guys on the floor to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Right. So you never know. And that's going back to how the Spurs used to run their offense as well. Everybody touched the ball, right? And people get upset at Steph Curry for changing the game. Let's talk about how James Harden changed the game. James Harden changed the game for the worse, and I like James Harden. James Harden is going to be a Hall of Famer, yes, for sure. I guarantee it. James Harden is one of the best 2 guards to grace the game.
Yes, that is true.
But he changed. Point guard. Sorry,
he's a combo. He's a combo.
He's a combo, right? He's one of the best guards to ever play the game. His thing was, I'm gonna get mine, and if you box me up or someone doubles, then I'm gonna pass it. Right?
Trying to fake a foul.
Right, or fake a foul. Flopping is terrible. And that's where it goes back to our chat in the shop chat when I said I strongly dislike how Joel Embiid plays. That's where it comes from. Yeah. Joel Embiid, every play. If you sat, and I know you watched the Christmas game, and if you didn't watch the full game, you definitely saw the highlights every time he touched the ball. Joel Embiid, every time he shot the ball, he was on the damn floor like
flopping and crying. Oh, listen, I had to watch that for 6 games in the playoffs last year. You know, it was a great series, but to see him like flopping half the damn time, I'm just like, God damn it.
It's so dumb. So again, in terms of why the game is so many different ways. I hate that people blame Steph Curry mainly.
Steph's not the reason.
Steph is not the reason. He is part of it. He's part of the reason. But also, you have to take into account the game has changed because of analytics. Again, analytics was around before Steph Curry got there. Steph Curry just kind of broke the game in a way. He broke the game and was like, all right, well, I practice shooting from 40 feet. So if you're going to let me shoot it, and these are shots I practice, cool. Here comes Dame. I practice those shots, so I'm going to shoot them. I'm going to shoot a 40 bomb, and that's it, right? You're going to live with the result. But people have to realize, as you said, not everybody are those players. And I kid you not.
They could try.
A team like Houston. A team like the OKC Thunder. A team like the Orlando Magic. The Miami Heat. The New York Knicks. These teams who have their identity. You know that they have their identity. those are the teams, and the Sacramento Kings to an extent, which we'll get into a later topic. The teams with identities that are distinct from what the NBA norm is are the teams to look out for. But the game has to change and evolve, but there has to be some type of midpoint now.
Yeah. For sure.
There
Like
has to.
there has to be a happy medium because like when you look at the game today, man, like outside of the select teams that you said, like you do want to see like more variety from basketball. I love the fact that there's parity, but there has to be variety within the parity because everybody plays the same in a way, it's like it doesn't drive fans to be like, I want to watch that game. It's more like, okay, if they're gonna play the same way, and like 53 is gonna be hoisted up, it's like, all right, it's just another All-Star game. Where it's like
Boston damn Celtics.
53 is a game. Like they won a championship shooting 53 is a game.
So that's so nasty. Like 53 is a game. Like
that's like, yo, bro, like you can't pump fake, get to the mid range, and then just pull up for a nice midi, or like, you know, mix somebody up, get to the cup, or for a dunk or a nice layup. Like it's tough. It's tough to see sometimes, man. And I get it. Like Steph is probably the reason why, the league, like is more three heavy. But at the same token, there's other ways to the game that people love to watch. People still love the slam dunk. And the worst thing that pisses me off is you have a fast break. It's like a 3-on-1, and you got a clear lane to the basket for a dunk.
Bang.
You pull up for a 3, and it's like you're already up. You pull up for a 3. Like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, go to the cup and go for a dunk.
I remember playing ball. If I was to ever do some stupidness like that, right? Like if it's a 3-on-1.
Like, man, if I'm 6'6", man, just give me the ball and I'll yam it. Like,
right. Now, the way the game has changed, if I'm running a 2-on-1 break, right, or a 3-on-1 break, or 3-on-2 break, yes, corner, middle, fill the lanes, right?
Yeah.
Right. But you also, one of those corners can cut because somebody's so focused on the 3 ball, nobody cuts. What happens is the defense looks at the person running down the middle, and this is why a James Harden is important now. Again, I don't agree, but this is why someone like a James Harden is important now, is because he can stop or step back with 7 or 8 steps and shoot the 3. And the defense has to play that. Yeah. If they come and play that, now you have both your corners open. With people who weren't originally shooters, like a Derrick Jones Jr. He shoots 3s now. Larry Nance, he shoots 3s now, right? These are people who weren't originally 3-point shooters.
Got to adapt your game. Like for them in these days, you have to adapt your game to keep a spot. Like if you don't know how to shoot that 3, or if you don't know how to shoot a 3, if you don't know how to offensive rebound, like those are things that keep any roster spot open. And it's rough to say because it's like you miss a day where guys were like different tool scorers. And like when you look at guys today, it's like, okay, if your game is primarily on the 3 and there's nothing else to it, again, like to the viewership issue, that also is contributing to the aspect of the viewership too. Because if like fans don't want to see like a 3 fest all day, like LaMelo Ball is great to watch because he's this and the third, but he's not gonna pull up from the logo and shoot crazy 3s thinking that you're Steph. Like, and it's hard to recreate that. Like Trae Young right now is averaging 13.9% from the field because he thinks he's Steph Curry. Like those things do not help the NBA at all. Like they don't help
everybody who said the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why the viewership is down, but style play is not the main reason. It's part of the reason. And basically, when we're talking about Adam Silver, like he does have to market players that are going to take the league into the next generation, because you cannot rely on LeBron. As much as LeBron still could be at a high level at year 2022 now, like, you can't expect him to basically be the face of your league moving forward. Like, at some point, you have to gear to somebody else. Kevin Durant is almost out the door as well. Steph Curry has already admitted that, like, the best years are behind him. He closed. Westbrook, Harden, like, those guys are almost out the door. And then, of course, the next crop of guys are going to leave is guys like Paul George and you look at Joker and Giannis, those kind of guys. Derrick Rose just retired this year. So, like, you're looking at guys in the forefront, like, who's going to be that guy to take the league further next year, and not just next year, but beyond. It's going to be tough, because it's like Adam Silver has to find that person. John Morant was so close. If he did not get into trouble, basically thinking that he's hood, he'd probably be in a much better situation. He'd be the Iverson of the generation in terms of popularity right now.
Yep.
And because kids could relate to him in terms of, like, he's a guy that, like, you would love to watch and put on TV every single Wednesday or Friday if it's ESPN, Thursday if it's TNT. Those are the games you can market for, and I wish that there were stars like that you could put on. But right now, you can't. You're relying on the big three, But the big three are too long in their tooth. Their best days are behind them.
Right, and big 3.5. You still have Chris Paul doing whatever he's doing in San Antonio.
That boy's a player coach.
Right, you're a player coach, but he's doing what he needs to do. But speaking of San Antonio, real quick, I think I want to I want to combine those two into one question at the end.
All right.
Something recent, two recent things. First, Mike Brown being fired from the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it at all.
I don't either.
And I don't want to say De'Aaron Fox is the reason for it, because De'Aaron Fox has been called out recently a bunch by Mike Brown.
Mm-hmm.
But when your record is about 107 and 88 with multiple with a playoff appearance and a few play-in appearances, it's kind of shaky. It's kind of shaky. So, as everybody knows, Mike Brown has coached the Lakers. Mike Brown was an assistant on the Warriors. Mike Brown was also the coach of the Cavs.
Twice.
And he's also landed in, Sacramento and changed the identity of the Sacramento Kings.
Also a Spurs assistant as well.
And the Spurs assistant, right?
That's how you got started.
Everything comes from the pop tree. So with that being said, is he to blame for why he got fired with the Kings, or do you think it's something more than that?
I think it's something more than that. I think he probably had squabbles within management more so than De'Aaron Fox. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact that because of Fox's current play, it doesn't necessarily help the issue that's going on in Sacramento. Because when you look at Sacramento, they had a great return to the playoffs a couple years back against Steph Curry. They went going to Game 7 in the first round. And you thought they were going to build towards that. Last year, they didn't make it was primarily because of injury, because Malik Monk spent the rest of the season out. This season, again, injury is still more so that as well, coupled with other stuff as well, because they brought in DeMar DeRozan, which kind of changes up their offense a little bit. And they lost as well, lost some players, last year as well. Davion Mitchell went to the Toronto Raptors, and he was very one of those players. But again, you got Keon Ellis to replace that. But at the same token, it's like when you lose pieces of your team that got you to the dance, and more and more of those pieces are withering away that made your team, exciting to watch. It kind of does ruffle a little bit of feathers though, because of the fact that there's a high expectation, and I know you have to improve, but I don't think necessarily with those moves improve the Kings enough for them to be in a position where oh my God, the Kings are a serious threat to in the West. And I feel that Mike Brown was scapegoated because of the fact that he might have called out their best player. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm not sure what expectation, Vivek, was hoping for this Kings team, but Mike Brown wasn't the sole reason in terms of why your team would have a sub 500 record right now in the Western Conference. And it's unfair the fact that he was the reason you kick him out the door. I would have stuck with it. And part of the reason you already put the fact that you're trying to trade De'Aaron Fox already. So, and the couple that with what Mike Brown, I think it was more so management, because it's like, oh, you're trying to put my player out. And now because of that, my player is not willing to play hard or close out. Especially like at the end of the game against Detroit, he didn't close out against Jaden Ivey, which basically gave him the 4-point play game winner. Gave the game winner against the Kings a few nights back.
Ridiculous.
And it's messed up, man. It's messed up, and he shouldn't have to go through that. You hate the fact that coaches like that get the short leash, especially for a black coach. Black coaches get the shortest of leashes in the NBA, and that's something that's unfortunately
in every sport, in the NBA and the NFL, shortest of leashes.
Black coaches get the shortest leashes, and now, like, you're putting it on him. Like he was your best coach in years since Rick Adelman. Like he since Adelman brought them to the playoffs, he was the coach that did it. Like not Dave Yeager. Not Reggie Theus or Paul Westphal, God rest his
right.
dead. George Karl, but then again, George Karl's ego wouldn't have got them to the playoffs anyway, because him and DeMarcus didn't get along. And then of course you have Mike Malone, who ultimately went to Denver and got it done. But like it took Mike Brown to do that. And people sleep on Mike Brown as a coach, saying he's not a good coach. He did go to the finals with Cleveland with LeBron James, despite the team may not being world beaters. But he still got his coaching, still got them there. He helped get LeBron his 2 MVPs. He helped the Lakers go to the second round against the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2012. He was able to be part of a Warriors staff that ended up winning an NBA championship. And then he brought the Kings back to the playoffs for the first time since 2006. That was 17 years of a playoff drought. And you kick him out because management, you got issues with management. Like that's not fair to Mike Brown. It's not fair to the Sacramento Kings fans. They, out of any fan base in the league, the Sacramento Kings fan base deserves so much better than what they're being given right now in terms of the product that they're being given. And it's not on the players, that's on management. Something's got to change within the ownership, or you have to bring in somebody like what Dolan did, bringing in Leon Rose. You need someone that's going to say, all right, I'll handle the basketball stuff. You just sign the checks. And then I'll make the basketball team. I'll take this basketball team wherever you need it to go, but just make sure that I have basketball ops. You stay the fuck out the way.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You basically said it. Yeah, you said it all. And then you could tell it was a bullshit firing, because when coaches get fired from the NBA, it's usually real hush. There have been several coaches that has come out and spoken about this and how much it doesn't make sense. And the NBA is a fraternity, as everybody knows, and these coaches are just as close with each other as these players are.
Oh yeah.
So when these coaches get let go for the most outlandish reasons, it's just kind of like, makes you say, and then the way they did it was just like, come on, bro. Like, you could have fired him when he was at the damn facility. You wait to him to do media and everything. Yeah, after practice, do media on his way to the airport. Hey, bro, we letting you go.
That was dirty.
That's a certified crash out moment, and God bless him for not doing that. But like, come on,
it's a cold game out here, dog. Cold game.
It's definitely a cold game. The next most recent thing that happened today, as we were recording this, is D'Angelo Russell is going back to Brooklyn for a second time. The Nets made a trade for D'Lo, which included Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton, and I believe a second rounder, not mistaken, because that's all the NBA trades now is second rounders, unless you're Oklahoma City, because you have all of the first rounders.
Yeah, they
So,
got all the first round picks.
and all the first round picks. So, but before I ask you your thoughts on it, what were your thoughts on D'Lo's time in LA, the second round?
I think his second round in LA was I think he had a better ending than the first time because he was immature, he was young. He was trying to figure himself out. I think when he came back the second time around, he was more mature. I think he approached every situation the best he could. I do think with Darvin Ham, like Darvin Ham did kind of do him a disservice last year, and I felt that he was
Sure
scapegoated a
did.
lot. I felt
Sure did.
he was a true professional throughout his tenure in LA because he was older. He's been around the league. I think the time in Brooklyn that he became a star really helped him, realize how to navigate through the league. His tenure in Timberwolves and Golden State as well
Mm-hmm.
kind of gave him different perspectives in terms of what kind of player he should be. And when he came back to
Yeah,
LA, like he was a good utility player that when needed. He had some very big games as a Laker as well. I don't
he did.
think I don't think his tenure should be looked down upon because he was part of that team that went to the Western Conference Finals,
Mm-hmm.
a couple years back. And I think, for him this year, obviously there were different, there were things that he needed, had to kind of get adjusted with because, this is another coach that he has to play for. It was an adjustment for him. And I think him going back to Brooklyn can it's crazy. It's almost like the reverse effect. It's like a boomerang. Like you get drafted by the
Yep.
Lakers, get traded to Brooklyn, and then you go to Golden State, then you go to Minnesota, go back to Lakers, and they get traded back to the Brooklyn Nets. So it's like he's doing he's lapping around his career stops. And I think him coming back to Brooklyn could be huge for him so that he could play ball freely. And
Man.
and at the same time, he can basically help out Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, Cam Thomas, who's a hooper.
I'm about to get traded.
So because I know Cam Johnson's about to get traded, but
Yeah.
Cam Thomas though is a very good scorer at the one, and D'Lo could be combo guard, so they can basically play off each other and just be a high scoring backcourt and just play free in Brooklyn because there's no expectation for the Nets so far this season under Jordy Fernandez, even though he's teaching them to play the right way, which is what I love about him so far. But this is something that can help D'Lo in the long run be the vet and basically be that old guy on the team to basically help everybody get along and come along because I think he's earned it. And it gives him an opportunity just to play freely in a place where he's familiar with. So for him coming back to Brooklyn, he's going to have a good time.
With Kenny Atkinson. What are you doing?
He ain't Cleveland right now.
Okay, that's all right. All right. He deserved that much. He deserved that. If he wasn't, he ain't had no job. I'd be like, yo.
Nah, can
he come back to Brooklyn, bro?
You know what's crazy? The fact that you had to ask where's Kenny and the fact that the Cavs are first in the East tells you the fact that no one's really checking for the Cavs. And they're the first in the East.
The Cavs are the Utah Jazz
of the East.
Of the East. Yeah. Right? And when we say this, when we go into our next topic shortly, the Cavs, the Utah Jazz, the Donovan Mitchell ones, they were a team that flew solely under the radar, and you forget that they were in first place.
Yeah.
For the whole entire year, bombing teams the entire year, get to the playoffs and just
shit the bed,
break like shit the bed, break like Legos, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking about you kind of get that Brooklyn magic back, and then you do some things.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
and that was my favorite Brooklyn team.
I like watching that. I ain't gonna front. I like watching that. I like watching that team too. That team was fun to watch.
Before they messed it up, and then went and get Kyrie and KD, and then it became really a non-enjoyable experience to watch a team in New York.
As Matt would say.
Matt has a lot of things. Matt has a lot of things to say about that Brooklyn Nets team, which we won't repeat. I'll let Matt get into that.
Yeah.
But oh man. As for what I think about D'Lo's time in LA, the second round, you said everything that I was thinking. He got a bad rep.
Yeah.
He got a bad rap for the most part, but he was also a major key in a lot of those games. And in the NBA, you're not going to be great every night. You're not. You're not going to be consistent every night. But you're on that floor to do a job. And I think D'Angelo Russell, for the most part, did his job to the best of his ability to what he was given.
He
It is
came to
not
work.
easy. It's supposed to be easy to play with LeBron James, but apparently it's not. Right? So him going to Brooklyn and being able to be the vet there, I believe, is the best move for him long term. And if he can stay in Brooklyn and help build that organization up, because D'Lo's not old. D'Lo's not old. D'Lo still has a couple years left of high efficiency basketball. It's just depending on what Brooklyn does. Brooklyn has not been good with trading or drafting people, so you'll also have to see how that goes. As far as the trade for the Lakers side of it, Shake Milton is definitely a nice pickup
He's a
as a
hooper.
backup point guard. As a
Yeah.
backup point guard, play some two as well. He's small, but he can play some two as well.
Well, he can play.
Him and Austin can run that backcourt a little bit together.
Yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith, the key to that trade is something that the Lakers need because that's where the league is at.
You need wings.
You need wings. Everybody needs Red Bull. Everybody needs wings. This is what the league is. It is a bunch of wings, a big that can shoot, and a point guard who wants to know how to shoot. So that's what the league is. It's a bunch of wings. Literally, if your wings are between 6'7" and 6'9", those are your wings, right? It's positionless basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It's positionless basketball because Indiana Pacers have a 6'7" point guard, 6'6" point guard. The Charlotte Hornets have a 6'7" point guard.
Oh God, yeah.
And I love big point guards. Love big point guards. But the Lakers also have LeBron, the ultimate point guard, basically.
It's the muscle up magic. That's it.
Right. It's big magic.
He's big magic.
It's big magic.
Yeah.
So he's magic who can do everything else. He has the IQ that and the floor vision that Magic had. So as far as the Lakers side of it, they get somebody that they would need. Now, is Dorian Finney-Smith going to be consistent with the shooting? Because the Lakers' problem,
It's shooting.
as always, is shooting.
And the crazy part about it is Bron can actually play point again.
He could. He won't.
He won't.
He could.
But I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what JJ is gonna try to do in terms of that. Because I'm thinking to myself, because like if D'Lo's no longer there, and you got a wing to start with, I know like Austin Reeves is basically your two, no matter what you'll do.
Yeah.
But if I'm the Lakers, I'd put Bron at point guard and just let him do what Frank Vogel did that year when they won the title. It's like even if Bron is like still 4 years older. You can still at this stage of his career, you can put him at point and hide him a lot on offense when he doesn't have to score, and then when he could, and run the fast break, it does help everybody else because you do have wings. You do have Hachimura still, who scored 20 plus last night. You got Austin Reeves, and that boy Westside Connect, Dalton Connect is a hooper. So like
sniper gang.
Like you got guys at the point of attack, so like your starting lineup could be big. The only person that will be short in your lineup is probably Austin Reeves at the 2. Like if you're smart, I'd rather do it that way than put Finney-Smith at the 4 because he could be more versatile and give Bron rest.
I can't wait to hear Stan's take on this soon about this because it's
because Stan's a Laker fan. I respect it.
Stan is a Laker fan. I respect it. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you could run 4 wings in AD.
4 wings in AD. Easy.
4 wings in AD. But that has to be a second half lineup. You can't start the game with that. Because you want to preserve LeBron. Right? You want LeBron more I want LeBron coming into his second win, running the one. Like once you switch up that lineup, because imagine LeBron is your point guard. Now that other team has to hide their point guard someplace else.
Yeah.
You have to hide it and then pick and roll. Now it's wing to wing pick and roll. LeBron ends up in the post with a 6'3" guy. What's going to happen? Double team, kick out, 3. Double team, lob, AD. It's the Lakers have it all.
I'm just hoping, like, the only reason why I say that is because
they need another big, though.
They need another big. The only reason why I say that is because, like, I would love for, if they do get another big, you have to put Brown at the 1. And
yes.
And the reason why I say that is because that pick and roll with AD that first season when they were together, first year and some change before they got hurt, was unstoppable. You couldn't guard that pick and roll for whatever. That's all they ran. And you had Danny Green. You had Danny Green in the corners. You had Deion Waiters or
Danny Green just waiting,
just waiting, like and Kyle Kuzma, like you had guys in the corner. You know, it'd be fun. They could do the most funniest thing and get Kyle Kuzma back.
They can still get Kyle Kuzma. It's not like Washington isn't shopping him, and they can get him back.
They can get him back for the free too, because he's an expiring deal. So it's just like you can get Kuzma back, and not only that, you have a guy who can definitely score 15 plus. You have another bona fide wing scorer, and he already knows how to play with LeBron and AD. So it's like, even if you go hunting for that, I ain't gonna lie. If you would do that, I'll probably put Valanciunas in that deal, because they do need a big to make sure that you can basically hide AD on most possessions as a big, because AD doesn't like to bang with 5s for whatever reason.
But and that thing that bothers me about that is that there are not many 5s in the league. So let's talk about me. If I was Anthony Davis and I have to guard 5s, I understand having to guard Joker 4 times out the year. Add an additional 4. And you can't guard Joker. Nobody can guard Joker, right?
He has problems with Sabonis. I ain't gonna front. Sabonis be babying the dude.
Sabonis be cooking AD, right? But AD is supposed to be a defensive specialist, right? Your defense is what stood out more than your offense at first. Your offense was like, oh shit, you can score too? That's what that was. But it's just weird, bro. Like KG didn't mind guarding 5s. Well, he didn't like it either as much. But
he took up the challenge though.
Yeah, he took up the challenge. So he can do it. So
it's crazy because it's crazy how Cat can accept like being a 5 and play the 5 and play big, and then AD's like, nah, I'm better as a 4, and it's just like I really don't want to play the 5. So like if they do make a trade, like there's a lot of centers on the market. You got Vucevic on the market. You got Vuce on the market. You got Valanciunas on the market. You can go for a young one in Jalen Duren, who Detroit seems to be shopping for whatever reason.
Man, like the Lakers get Duren, that would be
if the Lakers get Duren, you got a young dude who can rebound and who can definitely who could be like a pogo stick. Like you can mold him into a serviceable center. And I hear that the Hawks are shopping Capella too, because they're trying to give Nkongwu, basically
Nkongwu is
he's a true
the better play. He's the better play for
sure. At this stage of his Capella's career, Nkongwu is the guy that you would go with. So if they get a guy like Capella to basically man up the rebounds and clean up stuff that AD won't, that's why I said I will put Braun at the 1, and then as long as you have wings who can basically surround the corner and shoot, all Capella gotta do is gobble up rebounds. And he can run that 1-4, that 1-4 pick and roll between Braun and AD, and it'll be easier for AD to get his points easily. And he can definitely stay with 4s and be easier to guard those 4s and basically get where like it was when they won the championship. It's a simple fix, but it's like Rob is not. Rob ain't there.
AD, this whole thing about AD guarding 4s, again, positionless basketball. Because Josh Hart is a 4. Like,
Really a 2,
so
but he's a 4.
In a 2, he's a 4. So you say, oh, I got Josh Hart. Can't wait. Yeah, I'm gonna lock him up. Yes, Anthony Davis, you are gonna lock up Josh Hart.
Which is supposed to.
Absolutely. You're supposed to, right?
You're supposed to.
Lock up Jaren Jackson Jr. Go over there and lock up Jaren Jackson Jr., right? Go over there and lock up Sabonis, who is a 5 in a 4's body. Go lock him up.
Nah, Sabonis is supposed to be killing him.
You know what? Go lock up Wemby, right? go lock up Wemby.
Even had problems with Wemby because Wemby was giving him work.
Wemby is insane.
Wemby's insane. Like Wemby, Wemby mad because Joel dropped 70 on his head, and he's like, "Oh no, I gotta come back stronger this year."
But he also dropped. He also
dropped 40. I think he dropped 30 plus as well.
30 plus as well. Like people gotta understand. Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
He dropped 70, but you also gave up
30 points.
He gave up 30, 40 points.
Yeah.
Again, another defensive player giving up 30, 40 points, and again, that goes all the way back to how the game is played as well. Because a 7-4 player, wop, shooting from half court. Why?
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
And that's a game.
And then if he's really working with Jamal Crawford,
game over.
I'd be like, I'm just gonna cut the TV off. I don't need to.
Game over, because if he crossing you up and doing hezzies and in and outs and just getting to the basket and just like he ain't got to jump to dunk.
Getting to the basket either. He can literally hop from the free throw line and throw it in the basket. Right? The only thing with Wemby is he has to be more aggressive on getting rebounds. That's it.
That and the fact that if he has advantages, because almost every night he plays, he's gonna face someone shorter than him. He's gotten stronger. I will give him that credit, but he does have to be more aggressive when he does have mismatches in the post rather than just passing down and looking for a 3. Once he does that, which is why I say he's like Kareem and Wilt combined. You have the potential to be better than both because of what your skill set is.
He needs to work with KG.
Give him KG for a summer. Right. I know Duncan's working with him,
but Duncan is there.
But if you give him KG for the summer, bro, I know you'll come back.
Let's see Webb. Yeah, let's see Webb doing, right? What's Rasheed? I know what Rasheed is doing, but give him. Where did Antonio McDyess at?
She would get him right though.
Yeah, where's Antonio McDyess at? Right? Where's Jamal Mashburn? Where are the 3-4s, the 4-5s? Where?
Rasheed would get him right because of how he played in Portland and parts of Detroit. Right. He'll get him right. KG, he'll get him because for Wemby, the spot on the floor he can score from is all definitely easy. I know the mid range is gonna be a little bit tougher because he's so damn tall, which is why I get why he shoots the 3 a bit more. But if he's within the post where he can just put his back to the basket, jump for an ED jump hook, or just dunk it, bruh, he ain't gotta do much.
What's Dirk at? What's Dirk doing? What's Dirk at? But as we talk about certain players, the final topic is, and this will be a short one. The final topic is teams to look at and your predictions for these teams, right? So I'll give you 3. You pick 3 teams. Your prediction for these 3 teams. If these are your 3 teams that you want people to look at, and your prediction for them for the rest of the season, because we're getting to the second half. The calendar year is coming. It's New Year's by the time this drops. So,
I would say the Thunder, the Bucks, and I'll pick the Sixers too because they're an interesting case.
Yeah.
I have a reason why I picked the Sixers.
Okay.
So I picked. Well, I said the Thunder. I said Thunder, Sixers, and damn, I just said the damn team.
The Thunder, the Sixers, and the Bucks.
So Milwaukee is starting to get it together after a slow start to the season. I think Philly kind of goes into that thing too because they're starting to get their rhythm. Again, the season is 82 games. Sometimes people stumble out the gate. It's never always pretty. Sometimes you need cohesion to get it together. Hell, the Heatles were 8-7 before they went on that crazy run to end out their first regular season. What after that game against Dallas when Bron bumped Eric Spoelstra, basically when they went to Cleveland after that game, that's when they turned it up all the way up. And they ended the season number 2 in the East, and they went to the finals. We all know what happened, but I think the same adage could be the same for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think Giannis and Dame finally found a way to play well together. Chris Middleton is healthy for the time being right now, so they got some players.
Yeah.
And it's also helped their bench because now it puts certain people back into their proper place. And the guys they've drafted are pretty good too. I like Jackson off the bench and what he's been able to do. I like some of their young players that they put on the floor. Philly is an interesting case because obviously Joel hasn't played much of the season to start because he didn't come to camp in shape. It's obvious, but I do think after their slow start, they're starting to get it together because winning in Boston is huge. Like, especially on Christmas Day, regardless of how they got it, to win, a win is a win. They're starting to play better, turn the corner too. I do believe that once the second half of the season does come and then Embiid has more reps, I do think that team will kind of somewhat start to play better and get back to where they should be. I do think, I still don't trust Paul George, but for them to be a playoff team or a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference, I do think they have what it takes. It's just a matter of just them, continuing with those reps because, again, like you said, it's not enough practice time in the NBA, but they're starting to play better together. So that's another reason why I say like those 2 teams for the Bucks. The Thunder, however, they basically are playing with house money. Whereas like I got all these treasure trove of picks. I can move anybody for a star at any time because I have all these picks stockpiled, ready to go. And you have a very good one in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I feel should be MVP candidate over Joker. Because of what he's doing for his team, even without spending most of the season without Chet Holmgren. That team is what I talk about in terms of ethical scorers. You can score from the 3, you can have fast breaks. You don't stop for a 3 when you have a fast break. You go for that dunk. You're looking at Lou Dort, you're looking at Cason Wallace, you're looking at Isaiah Hartenstein, who's finally healthy enough to play, Alex Caruso, who's a dog all defensively. Like they have all the tools that make a team so fun to watch. My only thing is I wish they were still in Seattle. But other than that, like I think they have the makeup going into 2025 to really like show out and be the team to make another jump in the Western Conference. I know the playoffs are not here yet, but they want to be a Western Conference finalist. And from what I see right now, they have the team on paper, and from what we're seeing so far to start the year, they have the team to do it so far, and I like what I'm seeing from them. With those are my 3 teams.
Gotcha. Yeah, they're all good picks. Actually, they're all good picks. My 3, I'm going to say the New York Knicks.
Let's go.
The Boston Celtics.
Respect the champs.
You gotta respect the champs. And the Houston Rockets.
Ime,
big Ime. Ime is in his Mark Jackson era, basically.
Oh yeah. He's out for revenge too, man.
He's out for revenge. If Mark Jackson was able to land another team, that other team would be OD. I mean, I think it's kind of like it's past that point.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think he would be good for a team. But I think if he got fired and then ended up on another team like immediately after, prayers would have been out for the league because it would have been a world tour right there. Yeah. So I'm gonna start off with the Houston Rockets because that's the only West Coast team I have there. The Houston Rockets, Ime Udoka, of course, is the coach. The veteran Fred VanVleet, this semi-veteran Dylan Brooks, and the young talent. The disruptor, Dylan Brooks. I'll say that. And then
Dylan the villain,
Sengun. All right,
that boy could hoop.
That boy good, right? He's a baby Sabonis.
Turkish, or I say Turkish Joker. He's Turkish Joker.
Turkish Joker, baby Sabonis. It put that together. That That's a little crazy. Now, they have all the pieces put together. They have all the 3-and-D talent. They have the point guard. They have the coach. They have to continue to be consistent. The problem with young teams is usually consistency. Ime Udoka has a system in place for them to where they're able to stay consistent, but it's a make or miss league, right? Dylan Brooks has to stay on the court and out of foul trouble. Sengun has to stay healthy. Fred VanVleet has to stay consistent. He has to continue being that floor general. The leader of the team is Dylan Brooks. The floor general is Fred VanVleet. And unfortunately, the way it works now, you need both your floor general and your locker room leader and the leader of the team. And the others will fall into place. So that's what I see for the Houston Rockets. I think right now they're sitting in fourth. They can hold fourth.
Yeah, they can hold.
The West is crazy. Let's not get it confused. The West is crazy. The West is always going to be crazy. But they can hold down fourth.
Yeah.
The Boston Celtics. Not much to say about it. Batman and Batman. Yeah, we got to respect the champ. Batman and Batman have to hold it together. They have to. I can't say they have to stop relying on threes because these guys are three hunters. Right?
They make it. They make them.
They make them. If you make them, take them. Right? And they're not taking well, they can take them sometimes. But they're not taking non-efficient three-pointers. They're the ones that they usually miss are wide open. Right? For the most part, it's wide open. Porzingis has to stay healthy. Al Horford has to continue to just pull from the fountain of youth. Your two guard lineup with Holiday and White is one of the best backcourts in the league, and we're not talking about scoring wise. Like, imagine you have to deal with two Gary Paytons.
That's hell. That's hell.
That's backcourt. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with Gary Payton over here, and then you look over and like, all right, well, we can do guard to guard pick and roll, and then you see Gary Payton over here, like,
who knows how to go over a screen and ice rather than drop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah,
like smart defensively to where they're not going to tire themselves out to where, well, you know what? I'll play under the fuck out this screen because I know you really don't want to shoot it. And I'm going to get you to the spot where I want you to go. And then Derek White can block shots. Like,
yeah, I got love for Peyton. Like, as much as is a fuck Boston podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nah, I got a lot of love. I got a lot of love for Peyton Pritchard coming off their bench because he's a spark plug off their bench. Sam Hauser's done a great job. Luke Cornett, doing a pretty good job as a serviceable big who can stretch the floor. I think. Whatever Ime Udoka, regardless of what people may have thought how the Ime Udoka thing went out, Joe Mazzulla has been a perfect replacement for Ime in Boston. It's not like they didn't drop off much, and it showed. And what he's been able to do in Boston is not only continue because he finished the job that Ime started, but he's expanding on it because he's demanding more of his players. Because he's one of those coaches that you love. It's like he takes no nonsense. Like, it's about the game. It's about how you win the game. And right now, despite them not being first in the East, that's great. But that's not their goal. Their goal is for April. They're still playing pretty great weird basketball, but they're waiting. They're waiting on April, May, and June, and that's when they'll play their best basketball. And the best part of it is when it's almost January. That's when you start to see the teams that you know for a fact are really about that start to take shape. Because once April comes around, they're ready to go. They know what to do, and they'll basically be one of those teams that will be the last four, or when it comes to the conference especially in the East, they'll be one of the last, remaining. They'll be in the finals. They're just waiting whoever is going to be the second one behind them. And then when they get
to the conference finals, they're just trying to see who's going to face them.
Who's going to face them. And then if they get back to the finals, they can take Oklahoma City. They can take any team out west.
Oklahoma City will be the best matchup.
They'll be the best matchup because they match up well. But other than that, like, if they were to make it back to the finals, outside of OKC, there's no Western Conference team that can beat the Celtics in a 7-game series in the NBA Finals.
Nope. Boston is built like how the Miami Heat was. The Heatles. They're built exactly like that. With you have your Batman, and you have the others who can shoot around, right? But fortunately for them, both of their Batmen can shoot too. So now, a lot of what LeBron and Wade didn't have shooting wise, and that was LeBron's best shooting outing when he got with Ray Allen in Miami. Like a lot of what you lacked there in the Heat, the Celtics picked up with how they are currently built.
And they can still make moves. That's a crazy part.
They can still make moves, right? But they shouldn't. They still can, but they shouldn't. I don't think they should.
I think they could tweak it. They're going to probably look in the buyout market. They're not going to make any crazy moves, but if there's a move for them that's out there to kind of like solidify their team, they'll make a move.
Hey, I'd look at Boogie overseas because Boogie kind of fits what they're trying to do. He is a more mobile Al Horford who's still very physical.
And he's young.
Play defense.
And he's younger. Yeah.
And he can shoot. He can shoot. That's if I'm Boston, I'm looking at that. And the New York Knicks as a final team to look at. The Knicks have been playing extremely well this season. Good, bad, or indifferent on some of these games. The Knicks have been playing excellent this season. Cat has fit. The Bridges thing is kind of still iffy for me.
Oh, he's got he's been
gotten better.
To be fair, in December he's been cooking. Like October, November, he kind of struggled because it's like he went from the primary scorer in Brooklyn to the third or fourth scorer on the team. So I think he's kind of found his niche a little bit.
Yeah. I think the Knicks have two of some of the best perimeter defenders in the league with OG and Mikal. So that also Wingstop. It also helps them with a team like Boston, right? It helps them with a team like Boston where you can put. Well, I could have a lineup where OG and Mikal are my 2 and my 3, or my 3 and my 4, where they can guard Tatum or Brown. And leave that where that's at.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson is key to your success when healthy during the postseason because you need another big. I like Precious. I love Precious Achiuwa because he's a floor spacing big who is also a really good rebounder on the low, which people don't understand that about him, and he's a pretty decent defender.
Yes, I mean he basically helped. We don't win on Christmas Day. Without Precious defending Wemby the way he did when Cat was out.
Jalen Brunson is going to continue to do captain things. Josh Hart, since he is a Swiss Army knife, he can be put to play anywhere. Who else?
Campaign, Deuce.
Yep, Deuce. Deuce is going to be one of their most important players moving forward. Into the future, whether they're able to keep this version of the power of friendship together versus what they were originally going to have. But Deuce is going to be important because when Brunson sits down, he has to learn to not just be the scoring point guard, but also distribute. But he's a combo guard. So he's kind of like where CJ McCollum is. But CJ McCollum,
and he guards up. That's the big thing.
He guards up.
And Deuce guards up.
And the final thing about the Knicks is Cat. Cat is what the Knicks needed because if you look at the glory days of the Knicks, I say glory in quotes because of where they got to. Yeah. If you look at when they had Porzingis, a healthy Porzingis, with the team around, with the correct pieces around him. That's what Cat is looking like to me, but he's way better. He's way better.
Yeah.
I think Cat has to continue to be consistent. And I've been saying consistent all night because that's what the NBA sometimes lacks is consistency. If you're able to be consistent from beginning to end, your team should make the finals. This Knicks team can make the finals. Their problem is going to be if they run into the buzzsaw Boston, and Boston decides they were going to hit every shot imaginable. If Jason Tatum does not settle for threes, every team in the league is in trouble. And I don't like Jason Tatum at all. I think Jaylen Brown is better.
I do too.
I've always said that. I said that in the finals when they lost to the Warriors. I'm like,
he was their best player then too.
Yeah. Like, Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum. What's going on? Like, but as for the Knicks, I'm not even worried about Tibbs and the coaching stuff because
I'm not worried either. He gets them ready.
He gets them ready. The Knicks have to stay consistent. They have to continue to play together. Cat also has a thing where he disappears at certain spots. You do not want that Cat on your team because now that takes away floor spacing. And if you can't have Cat in the game to space the floor and bring your center out when you play the somewhat small lineup when Cat is your center, it's going to be hard to just play with Robinson at your center because now Robinson can't space the floor like Cat does.
Like the Knicks have enjoyed a 5-out system a lot this season. So I know Tibbs at this point. I've known Tibbs well enough. For most Knicks fans, we've known Tibbs for over 20 plus years in terms of what he's done for the team. But Tibbs is probably going to get Mitch off the bench more so and then play with that lineup because once he does come back, you have a lot of tools to use. This like Tibbs will play 10 if he knows like the next 5 are going to get him results. Like Tibbs is like if he knows you're going to get results, he will play you. Which is why like if he comes back, he knows you can play a campaign. You can play Achua, Deuce, who he loves. Landry Shamet, who's played the last couple of games he's gotten back, has really been a big spark plug. His 10 minutes against the Magic were very vital because we don't get that win if he doesn't come and give that energy.
Wasn't Shamet there before?
He was like Shamet was there to start the season, but he had he basically popped his shoulder out the last game of preseason. And
I thought Shamet was on the Knicks once upon a time though.
Nah, they were looking for him.
You know what? Yeah,
you're probably thinking Courtney Lee because they're all light skinned.
Yeah, Landry Shamet and Landry Fields, all them yellow people.
Yeah. So, like, and then with Mitch coming back, you can definitely mix and match in terms of lineups because you see him using guys in short stints in terms of what you'd be able to do put on the floor, and that will help the Knicks become a deeper team. And the crazy part about it is the way they drafted the second round picks, who they are farming right now, Kolick, Dadier, and then Hukporti as a big, you're already preparing for the guys to basically make it a deeper team. So you don't need to necessarily make crazy moves to add to the team. You just basically need to pray for health of Mitch, because Mitch, from what I've heard, he's leaned out. He's no longer 280. So it's more so like getting him leaner and cutting down weight to basically have less pressure on his ankles. So if he's able to do that, I think that the Knicks will be in a good position. And we already know he's the best offensive rebounder in the league. So you have that and create the extra possessions, I think, and he's one of the better defensive bigs in the league. It does help the Knicks second unit a hell of a lot better, create more opportunities offensively. And of course, if you put him in the lineup at spurts with Cat, that will definitely help the dynamic with the team as well because of his ability, his length, his size, especially against big teams like a Oklahoma City, a big team like a Denver Nuggets, even though we beat them without him. You know, like against big teams that have size, that have a lot of wings, having a Mitch on that floor can offset a lot of the deficiencies from the wing perspective, from the wing from off the bench that the Knicks do have. So it definitely would help in terms of like having that on the floor. It's a utility. And I think with Tibbs, with the Knicks right now, it's a good opportunity to see because you're seeing what they're doing right now with an 8-9 man rotation. So when Mitch comes back, if you know he can trust you, he will definitely play that 9 to 10 that 10th spot will probably be spot minutes, but heavily he'll be playing 9. And then Mitch will basically be part of that 9, and then you'll have a starter in between those two rotations.
Absolutely. So we'll have to wait and see. I think the Knicks are, definitely one of the teams to watch in the East. The Knicks are usually the bridesmaid and never the
Never the
bride,
bride. Yeah.
but they have been inching and inching and inching to being that team. There's always in the East, it's usually like a 3-team race for the most part in the East. The West is like, it goes down to like the last game. So but like football, basketball, any given day, any team could be any team.
That's
We've
true.
seen, I haven't really talked much about, my team, but we've seen the Miami Heat go on runs and beat teams that they're really not supposed to be beating. You see them get to the finals. You see them get to the conference finals. We saw Atlanta do it. We saw Atlanta do it again in the NBA Cup. So the East is wide open, but it's not as wide open as people think. It's usually like a 3-4 team race, always starting with Boston and ending with everybody below that. So we'll definitely have to wait and see. But that is all for the first episode of Run the Break Podcast. You can look us up on Instagram at Run the Break Podcast. This will be live and in color on the Your Sports Show YouTube page. And shouts to Backstage Brawl on every Saturday.
Oh no, we moved to Sundays now. We only do Saturdays for PLEs.
So Saturdays for PLEs, but every Sunday, 1 p.m.
3:30.
3:30 p.m. Yes.
Yes,
okay. So yeah, we used to have a scheduling problem where we would be on that one, they would be on that one. Now we don't even go live on Saturdays anymore. But that friendship right there, like I don't want to go live and you're going live at the same time too. Especially on the Saturday. So, but you follow Randy at _ his name is King, and follow Backstage Brawler on all social media platforms.
Yes, sir.
Wise Brother at all social media platforms on the Wise Brother. Follow Your Sports Show on every social media platform. Add to Your Sports Show, Apple, Spotify, Google, all that.
Yeah, man.
So, for the People's Champ, Andy, it is your boy, Big Baby, aka the Wise Brother, signing off. Peace.